Long time no see. I am back. It's been a long time since I made a video. I think it's been about 7 months actually. Today, I wanted to highlight and do a formal long-term review of the Victorinox Swiss Champ. I have always been a big-time Leatherman guy, and I saw a video, I think it was at Van Nystat. I was watching one of his videos, and he was talking about if there's anything you could have in your life, any like number one EDC item, you have to get a Swiss Champ. He talked about, you know, going to Europe and only having the Swiss Champ and rebeating a bike tire and putting the chain back on his bike and whatnot with a little hook tool, like this little guy on the back. It's, this thing's really been incredible. It has so many features, 33 of them, actually. It's got your primary blade. Got your small, really thinner blade. This is actually the one that I use for most of the tasks. Any packages or anything like that. This larger one I've used for cutting up, you know, food and whatnot, because it's super thin geometry, it's stainless, it's full flat grind. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, like before I got into Victorinox, like before I got the Swiss Champ, people were saying, well, you know, the steel is so bad. It's not that bad. I mean, if we're being honest, majority of the people that are going to carry something like this, you know, something small, like a multi-tool of sorts, the blade steel is really not a huge deal. You can get away with something that's a little more soft, maybe not as tough. That's not really the goal of carrying something like this. It's just having, you know, a knife when you need it. And then the other parts of it are really going to be the big benefit of carrying something like this. Moving on, we got our saw, file, wood and metal file. This thing works really great. I haven't used it on a lot of metal, but I knocked some burrs off parts the other day, like on some aluminum parts, and it works great. You know, it's does everything you'd need it to do. Next, you have the saw. I haven't used this guy yet, but I think next hunting season, I'll probably use it to clear like shooting lanes when I go bow hunting. Just saw off like small branches and whatnot. Typically, I would have a large folder and I just nonsensically smack it until it falls down. But this, I think, will actually be a great little feature. Next, you have so this is called the fish scaler. And then I believe this portion here is actually supposed to be a hook remover or like a hook removal tool. I mean, I guess I could see that working. The only thing I would imagine is, you know, holding the fish and like trying to push the hook out of the corner of its mouth, and then, you know, it slips and pops into your hand or something. I don't know. I don't know if I would actually use this for that, but I guess you could stir your coffee with it. That would also work. I do know that from experience. I've stirred my coffee a couple of times with that. Probably the best part about any Victorinox multi-tool, the scissors. These things are incredible, and they actually know how to make a pair of scissors. There's actually a curve to them, so they actually meet and cut things. Unlike, we're not going to bash on Leatherman today. We just have this as an example. These scissors. Now, outside of maybe trimming your nails or like a hair on your mustache, these really aren't super great. They're super duper straight. So they work not nearly as well as the Victorinox scissors. And this is nothing new. People have talked about this forever. The Victorinox scissors have really always been the king. And then this is the Leatherman Free P2. I will be doing a review on this in the future. But it just hasn't got as much pocket time as the Swiss Champ. These little pliers are actually surprisingly great. I use them just for changing out like end mills into heat shrink holders at work. You can even grip a 1/2 inch end mill with these. they're awesome. But like any of your little 1/8 inch on mills and whatnot, you can just pinch them, and this works great. Even like pulling like a small nail out of the wall, if you're hanging a picture or something, that works. I used them. I haven't used it specifically for that purpose, but I have used it to pull the nails out of the wall to like rehang the clock at work, and they work great. Surprisingly nice little feature, the magnifying glass. I had a metal sliver in my hand, and I was actually able to use I used this to kind of take a better look at it. And I use this really just for, getting like metal slivers out of my hands and whatnot. But I have heard that people say you could start a fire with this. The only thing that I don't love about this, and it's probably not a big deal to most people, is that it's plastic. It would have been cool if they would have did like an aluminum housing on this thing. I mean, do whatever you want with the lens, because you're probably not going to use this thing too much. It's just like a little nice feature to have. It would be really cool if they did aluminum on here, kind of like how the liners are, do an aluminum housing on this thing, and just so it's a little more rugged, but not a huge deal. The little Phillips driver, this thing's awesome. I don't even know if this has like a specific name or whatnot, but you can see like this thing's just it's really stout. It would be nice if it was a little longer, but you have the cyber tool for that. But I guess with it being shorter, you have a little more rigidity to it as well. So that is great. Use this thing all the time. Love it. I absolutely love it. And the nice thing is that it's actually like, you have the flatter shaft of this driver, but it opens up a lot larger. We're just going to keep the P2 around for comparison's sake today. But if you look at the Leatherman one, it's really flat. It's super flat, which this thing is nice. The Phillips bottle opener combination tool, it is nice, but the one on the Victorinox is just, it just works better. It fits more. I'm a big fan of it. And then we have our can opener, typical Victorinox. It works. And then you do have a small flathead driver here as well. It works well. And then the bottle opener, probably going to be one of the most used tools for most people. This also is a pry tool as well. And it does work for smaller things. It's also great. You have a pen on the Swiss Champ. This thing has so much capability. It's just one of those things like, if you grab the Swiss Champ, which is where the camp I've been in, I just grabbed the Swiss Champ and I feel like I have everything I need. Majority of the time you probably would be good with just, your standard pocket knife, but having a little mini toolbox in your pocket is pretty dang neat. It just does everything. There's really no situation you would be in outside of, I guess, maybe like a self-defense situation, but there's other tools for that. This thing has it covered. I get why the Swiss Champ has such a cult following and why it's been popular for so long. It just really fits into everything nicely. If you really wanted to as well, excuse me. Sorry about that. If you paired this with even, just like a folding knife or like a folding knife with like a more premium blade steel, if you got like S30V or got, something that's like a little better than the Victorinox blend, you really have everything covered. You'd be good to go in pretty much every scenario. The next tool, we're getting into the backside portion here. You have the chisel. This thing's pretty sharp. It works really well. You can kind of grip it like this. I've tested it out on some wood. It does work really well. If you're a woodworker or something, this probably be beneficial. We got this guy here. I'm not sure exactly what this is supposed to be. I've used it as like a little flathead driver, but it is kind of tapered down. So maybe it's just supposed to be like you could use it as like a trim tool or like just a light duty pry. As we kind of pointed out in the beginning, the little hook tool, I believe it was actually supposed to be used for like carrying packages and whatnot. I've heard people saying it was used for carrying pastry boxes in Europe or in Switzerland. But as I've seen in other videos, you know, putting a bike chain back on, or one thing I've used this for, not on this specific tool, but on other ones, a tent stake puller. So that's also a really great use for it. And then over here, our other tool, we have a nice little awl. This thing's great. I've used it to put a hole in my belt. It's an awl. I mean, in the odd event, you know, the rare event that you need an awl, at least in my circumstance, it works fine. It's totally fine. And then obviously, you know, standard Victorinox, you do have your corkscrew. And then this one actually came with a micro driver. You can use for sunglasses, really any sort of glasses. I use it to adjust the screws on my safety glasses from time to time, and it works really well. And then it doesn't come with this, but this is just a little carabiner that I bought, a little, you know, suspension clip from Amazon for like $10, and you just carry it in the pocket down like this, and you just have this hooked in the corner of your pocket, and then this kind of twists flat into your pocket. So for the people that say the Swiss Champ is a little too bulky to carry, there's ways around it. There's even a guy on Etsy, I forget what his name is. He makes a little 3D printed pocket clip that actually twists into the corkscrew, and then so it lays flat, so you can have it in your pocket like that. So it's a little flat, which is pretty similar to how this is, but it would just be, you know, this in the pocket, you kind of have to like hook your finger on it and then tug it out of the pocket, which is fine. I am going to be looking into buying the corkscrew pocket clip just because I don't really use the corkscrew. And if you needed to use it, you can just twist the clip off of it and you can use your corkscrew. But yeah, this thing has been awesome. It has taken up all of my pocket time. I haven't really carried anything else in addition to this guy. Occasionally I'll carry like a case sod buster. And that's been fine. But yeah, I'll have a couple more videos coming in the future. I do intend on doing a full-length review on the P2. I've had this guy for like 4 months. I do want to use it a little longer before I put out, you know, like a longer term review. I feel like I haven't really done it justice quite yet. You know, and we did the ARC video. It's fairly similar with less features, but a little more budget friendly. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, appreciate all the support, and I will be having some more videos out soon. Thank you.